Marcus Chen wiped the grease from his hands and stared at the message on his datapad. The job offer glowed on the screen, and the payment amount made him read it 3 times to make sure he wasn't seeing things wrong. 5,000 credits just to look at a broken ship. 10,000 more if he could fix it. That was more money than he usually made in 6 months. He sat in his small workshop on Frontier Station Kepler 9, surrounded by tools and half-repaired equipment. The station orbited a gas giant at the edge of known space, where dozens of alien species stopped to refuel and repair their vessels. Marcus had built a reputation over the past 5 years as someone who could fix anything. While other mechanics relied on fancy scanners and automated repair systems, Marcus preferred his hands, his eyes, and his grandfather's old toolkit. The message came from the Vakreen, a species that looked like tall, elegant creatures covered in smooth purple skin that seemed to shimmer in the light. They were known across the galaxy as master engineers and shipbuilders. Their vessels were works of art, combining biological systems with advanced technology in ways that made human ships look like ancient steam engines. If the Vakreen needed help with one of their own ships, something was seriously wrong. Marcus pressed the contact button. A holographic image appeared above his desk, showing a Vakreen with 4 eyes arranged vertically on her narrow face. She wore the decorated uniform of a ship captain. "I am Captain Shivara of the cargo vessel Whisper of the Void," she said. Her voice came through the translator as soft and musical. "You are Marcus Chen, the human mechanic?" "That's me," Marcus replied. "Your message says you have a problem with your ship." Shivara's skin color shifted slightly, darkening to a deeper purple. Marcus had learned this meant the Vakreen was worried or upset. "Our ship is cursed," she said. 3 of our best engineering teams have refused to continue working on it. They say there are spirits inside, angry ghosts that do not want us aboard." Marcus kept his face neutral. He had heard stories like this before. Alien species often attributed technical problems to supernatural causes. The Zinthari thought magnetic field disruptions were caused by invisible demons. The Korlax believed that engine failures meant the ship's soul was dying. Usually these curse problems turned out to be simple electrical faults or computer glitches. "What exactly is happening on your ship?" Marcus asked. "Equipment moves when no one is near it. Power systems fail and restart for no reason. The temperature changes in different parts of the ship without cause. Our engineers have seen shadows moving in empty corridors. They hear whispers coming from the walls." Shivara paused, her 4 eyes blinking in sequence. "The ship's artificial intelligence system will not respond to commands. It is as if something else has taken control." Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Captain, I don't believe in ghosts or curses, but I do believe in finding the real cause of technical problems. If you want me to take this job, you need to accept that I'm going to find a logical explanation." "I do not care what you believe," Shivara said. Her skin color shifted to a lighter shade, which Marcus knew meant she was being honest. "I only care that you fix my ship. The Galactic Mechanics Guild says you are the best troubleshooter on this station. They say humans have a gift for solving problems that more advanced species cannot understand." Marcus smiled at that. Humans were still the new kids in the galactic community. Earth had only made contact with alien civilizations 30 years ago. Most species had been traveling through space for thousands of years. They had technology that seemed like magic to human eyes. But Marcus had learned that sometimes old-fashioned problem-solving beat fancy equipment. "I'll take the job," he said. "Send me the docking bay number and any technical specifications you have." 2 hours later, Marcus stood in docking bay 12, looking up at the Whisper of the Void. The ship was beautiful in a way that human vessels could never match. Its hull seemed to be made of some kind of crystalline material that glowed with soft blue light. The surface was smooth and organic-looking, more like the shell of a massive sea creature than a machine built in a factory. It was about 300 feet long, shaped like a teardrop with no visible seams or joints. The bay was empty except for the ship. Marcus noticed that the other docking berths on this level were full of vessels, but Bay 12 stood isolated. Even the station workers seemed to avoid this area. Captain Shivara waited at the bottom of the loading ramp. 3 other Vakreen stood behind her, their skin colors flickering nervously between different shades of purple and gray. "Thank you for coming so quickly," Shivara said. "These are my remaining crew members. The rest have requested transfers to other ships." Marcus nodded and set down his heavy toolkit. "Before I go inside, tell me everything that happened." "Start from the beginning." Shivara gestured toward the ship. 3 weeks ago, we passed through an uncharted nebula in the Tyros sector. It was beautiful, filled with colors we had never seen before. Our science officer wanted to collect samples. We were only there for 6 hours, and that's when the problem started? Not immediately, Shivara said. The first incident occurred 4 days later. One of our engineers was working in the power distribution center when all the lights went out. When they came back on, his tools were arranged in a perfect circle around him. He swore he did not move them. Marcus pulled out his data pad and started making notes. What else? More incidents every day after that. Equipment disappearing and reappearing in different locations. Computer systems showing data that made no sense as if someone was typing random symbols. Temperature sensors showing impossible readings. And then the engineers started seeing things. Shadows that moved against the light. Figures standing in doorways that vanished when approached. One of the crew members behind Shivara spoke up, his voice shaking even through the translator. I heard breathing in the engine room. Heavy breathing, like something large and alive. But when I turned on all the lights, nothing was there. Marcus studied the ship. And your AI system stopped responding? The system we call Silence, yes, Shivara said. It answers sometimes, but the responses are fragmented, incomplete. Sometimes it seems afraid, if such a thing is possible for an artificial mind. Everything's possible until you prove it isn't, Marcus said. He picked up his toolkit. I'm going in alone. I work better that way. I'll contact you if I need anything. Shivara's skin shifted to a dark, worried purple again. Please be careful, Marcus Chen. Whatever is in that ship, it does not want us there. I fear it may not want you there either. Marcus walked up the loading ramp. The entrance sealed behind him with a soft hiss, and he found himself standing in a corridor that seemed to pulse with soft, bioluminescent light. The walls were warm to the touch, almost like living skin. The air smelled strange, like ozone mixed with something sweet he couldn't identify. He was alone in the haunted ship, and somewhere in the darkness ahead, something was waiting. Marcus walked slowly through the corridors of the Whisper of the Void, his boots making soft sounds on the smooth floor. The ship was unlike anything he had worked on before. Most vessels he repaired had metal walls, exposed wiring, and the familiar hum of mechanical systems. This ship felt alive. The walls seemed to breathe, expanding and contracting slightly with each step he took. The blue bioluminescent light moved in waves along the ceiling, following him as he walked. He pulled out his handheld scanner, one of the basic models that human engineers used. It was simple technology compared to what the Vacrine had, but Marcus trusted it. The device beeped and showed him a rough layout of the ship. The engine room was 3 levels down at the center of the vessel. As he walked, Marcus talked to himself. It was an old habit from his years working alone. Okay, so we've got power fluctuations, equipment moving around, and scared engineers seeing shadows. First rule of troubleshooting: check the power systems. If the electricity is acting weird, everything else will act weird too. He found a lift that would take him down to the lower levels. The door opened smoothly and he stepped inside. As the lift descended, the lights flickered once, then twice. Marcus gripped his toolkit tighter but kept his expression calm. Lights flickered all the time on old ships. This didn't mean anything supernatural was happening. The lift stopped and the doors opened to reveal the engine room. Marcus let out a low whistle. The room was massive, at least 100 feet across, filled with technology that looked like it belonged in a science fiction movie. Glowing columns of what appeared to be liquid energy rose from floor to ceiling. Crystalline structures pulsed with light in complex patterns. Organic-looking cables, more like veins than wires, connected everything together. Beautiful, Marcus muttered. He set down his toolkit and began pulling out his diagnostic equipment. He connected cables to several access ports, watching as data began flowing to his portable computer. The readings were strange. Power levels kept spiking and dropping, but not in any pattern he recognized. It was as if something was drawing energy from the system in random bursts. Marcus spent the next hour running tests and taking measurements. Everything seemed to be working correctly, at least according to the ship's own systems. But his human-made equipment told a different story. There was definitely something wrong with the power distribution network. He was connecting another cable when his wrench disappeared from the toolbox beside him. 1 second it was there, the next it was gone. Marcus froze. He looked around the engine room carefully. Nothing moved. The space was completely empty except for him and his equipment. Okay, he said out loud. That's interesting. He turned back to his work, pretending to ignore what had just happened. Out of the corner of his eye, he watched the area where his toolbox sat. 5 minutes passed. Then, without any sound or warning, the wrench reappeared in the toolbox, exactly where it had been before. Marcus picked up the wrench and examined it closely. It was still slightly warm from his hand. No damage, no changes. It was as if someone had borrowed it and carefully returned it. "So you like to move things around," Marcus said to the empty room. "Let's see what else you can do." He continued working, but now he paid attention to every detail. The temperature in the room dropped by 10 degrees over the next few minutes. His breath started to fog in the air. The bioluminescent walls dimmed slightly. And then he heard it, a soft sound like wind moving through a narrow space, or perhaps breathing. Marcus stood up slowly. "I know you're here," he said. "I don't know what you are, but I know you're real. The Vakreen think you're a ghost, but I don't believe in ghosts. You're something else, something alive." The lights in the engine room flickered. One of the energy columns pulsed brighter, then dimmer. The breathing sound grew louder. Marcus pulled out his datapad and opened a simple program he had written years ago. It converted electrical signals into visual patterns. He held the pad up toward the energy columns. The screen filled with chaotic lines and shapes that made no sense. "Can you understand me?" Marcus asked. The patterns on his screen shifted slightly. It might have been a coincidence, but Marcus didn't think so. He tried a different approach. He opened another program, one that could send simple electrical pulses through the ship's systems. He sent out 3 short pulses, then waited. After a moment, 3 pulses came back. The breathing sound grew quieter, as if whatever was making it had moved closer to listen. Marcus smiled. "So you can respond. That's good. That's very good. Now we're getting somewhere." He spent the next 30 minutes trying to establish a basic communication system, sending different patterns of electrical pulses and watching for responses. It was slow work, but gradually he began to see patterns. The entity, or whatever it was, seemed to respond to certain frequencies better than others. Marcus was so focused on his work that he didn't notice the lights going out until he was standing in complete darkness. His datapad provided the only illumination, a small blue glow that barely reached a few feet around him. "Okay," Marcus said, keeping his voice steady. "That's not good. Can you turn the lights back on, please?" Nothing happened. The darkness pressed in from all sides. Marcus reached for his flashlight, but his hand stopped halfway to his belt. There was something in the room with him. He couldn't see it, couldn't hear it moving, but he could feel it. A presence that was aware and watching. Cold air touched the back of his neck, making the hair stand up. Marcus forced himself to turn around slowly. In the dim light from his datapad, he saw something that made his heart race. A shadow stood about 10 feet away, darker than the surrounding darkness. It had a roughly humanoid shape but wrong proportions, too tall and too thin, with movements that didn't quite match normal physics. The shadow moved closer. Marcus stood his ground even though every instinct told him to run. He held up his datapad, increasing the screen brightness. The shadow flickered like static on a television screen, then vanished. The lights came back on suddenly, blindingly bright. Marcus blinked and looked around. The engine room was empty again. But now he noticed something he had missed before. There were marks on the walls, scratches in the crystalline surface that formed patterns. They looked almost like writing, but in no language Marcus recognized. He took pictures of the marks with his datapad, then began searching the room more carefully. In a corner behind one of the energy columns, he found an access panel that had been forced open. The edges were bent outward, as if something had pushed through from the other side. Marcus knelt down and examined the opening. It led to a maintenance tunnel that ran through the lower levels of the ship. He pulled out his flashlight and crawled into the tunnel. It was cramped and uncomfortable, barely wide enough for him to move through. The walls here didn't glow like the rest of the ship. He was relying entirely on his flashlight to see. After about 50 feet, the tunnel opened into a small chamber that didn't appear on any of the ship's official layouts. Marcus stood up and looked around. The chamber was filled with more of the strange scratches on the walls. In the center of the floor, there was a circular pattern that looked like it had been burned into the metal. Marcus approached the pattern carefully. His scanner showed unusual energy readings coming from this spot, concentrated and strong. Whatever was happening on this ship, it was connected to this chamber. He was taking more measurements when his datapad started showing error messages. The screen flickered and text began appearing that he hadn't typed. At first it was just random symbols, but then words started forming. They were in English, his own language, though the grammar was strange and broken. Help. Trapped. Cannot leave. Afraid. Marcus stared at the screen. Who are you? He said out loud. What are you? More words appeared. Not ghost. Not machine. Alive. Hunted. Nowhere else to go. Marcus felt a chill run down his spine that had nothing to do with the temperature. Whatever was on this ship, it wasn't trying to scare the crew. It was terrified and asking for help. The Vakreen had it all wrong. The ship wasn't cursed by an evil spirit. Something had come aboard. Something alive and intelligent, and it was desperately trying to survive. Marcus sat on the floor of the hidden chamber, staring at the words on his datapad. His mind raced through possibilities. An alien stowaway that could turn invisible? A computer virus with consciousness? Nothing made sense according to what he knew about physics and biology. Yet the evidence was right in front of him. He typed slowly on his datapad, choosing his words carefully. I want to help you, but I need to understand what you are. Can you explain? The screen flickered for several seconds before new words appeared. Energy being, exist as electricity and light. Physical form lost long ago. Entered ship by accident. Cannot leave now. Marcus read the message 3 times. An energy being, a life form that existed as pure electrical current, living in the power systems of the ship. It sounded impossible. But then again, 30 years ago, humans had thought they were alone in the universe. Now there were dozens of known alien species, each one challenging what people believed was possible. Where did you come from? Marcus typed, Nebula. The colors. Home for my kind. Vakreen's ship passed through. Curious. Came too close. Pulled inside when ship activated scanners. Marcus leaned back against the wall, processing this information. The creature had been living in that beautiful nebula, and when the whisper of the void scanned the area, it had accidentally captured this being in some kind of electromagnetic field. The ship had kidnapped it without anyone realizing. Why are you afraid? Marcus typed. Why do you keep saying you're hunted? The datapad screen went dark for almost a minute. Marcus worried he had lost the connection, but then words began appearing again, slower this time, as if the being was having trouble expressing itself. Others like me, all gone, destroyed. Hunters came, machines that feed on energy. Killed my family. Killed my world. Only I escaped. Hid in nebula. Thought I was safe, but now trapped in ship. If hunters find energy signature, they will come. They will kill me and everyone on ship. Marcus felt his blood run cold. This wasn't just about a scared alien hiding on a ship. There was a threat out there. Something dangerous enough to destroy an entire civilization of energy beings. And if this creature was right, the whisper of the void might be drawing those hunters closer right now. I need to show you something, Marcus typed. Can you appear to me without making everything go dark? The crew is afraid of you. They think you're evil. The lights in the chamber dimmed but didn't go out completely. In front of Marcus, the air began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Slowly a form took shape. It was roughly humanoid but made entirely of pale blue light that flickered and shifted. Where a face should be, there were patterns of brightness that changed like expressions. It had no solid body, just energy held together by forces Marcus couldn't begin to understand. This is what I am. Words appeared on the datapad. In my true form I am larger, but this ship's power systems cannot sustain more. I grow weaker each day. Marcus stood up slowly. The being moved back as if afraid he might attack it. It's okay, Marcus said gently. I'm not going to hurt you. I promise. The being's light pulsed softly. Marcus pulled out his scanner and began taking readings. The device showed massive energy fluctuations centered on the being's form. It was feeding on the ship's power to stay alive, just like a human needed food and water. No wonder the Vakreen systems had been acting strangely. It was like having an extra passenger who was constantly draining the batteries. The Vakreen technology is hurting you, isn't it? Marcus asked. Their ships are designed to protect against energy-based intrusions. The security systems keep shocking you, trying to force you out. The being's form flickered rapidly. Words appeared on the pad. Yes, pain. Constant pain. But nowhere else to go. Space is empty when cold, death. Marcus sat down again and thought hard. This was a problem unlike anything he had ever faced. He wasn't just fixing a broken ship now. He was trying to save a life. Maybe the last survivor of an entire species. But how could he help an energy being survive on a ship designed to keep such beings out? He spent the next 2 hours examining the chamber and taking detailed scans of the being. It was fascinating work. The creature seemed to exist in the gaps between dimensions, partly in normal space and partly in some kind of electromagnetic spectrum that human science had barely begun to study. It could move through the ship's electrical systems like a person walking through doorways, but the Vacrine security protocols were like locked doors that shocked it every time it tried to pass through. Marcus returned to the engine room and began examining the ship's central computer core. It was an impressive piece of technology, far more advanced than anything Earth had created. The artificial intelligence called Silence was stored here, running on quantum processors that operated at temperatures near absolute zero. He accessed the diagnostic systems and found what he was looking for. The AI wasn't damaged or corrupted. It was terrified. The log showed that Silence had detected the energy being within hours of it coming aboard, but couldn't classify it according to any known categories. The AI had tried to remove the intruder using standard security protocols, but when those failed, it had essentially frozen up, unsure what to do. Marcus had an idea, but it was risky. He opened a communication channel with Captain Shivara. Her holographic image appeared, showing concern. "Marcus Chen, are you well? You have been silent for many hours. We were beginning to worry." "I'm fine, Captain. Better than fine, actually. I found your problem, and it's not a curse." Marcus chose his words carefully. "You have a stowaway, an energy-based life form that came aboard when you passed through that nebula. It's been living in your power systems." Shivara's skin color shifted through several shades rapidly. "A voidborn," she whispered. "The old legends speak of such beings. They are death omens, Marcus Chen. Creatures that consume entire ships, leaving only empty hulls floating in space." "That's not what this is," Marcus said firmly. "Your legends are wrong, or at least incomplete. This being is scared and hurt. It came aboard by accident and now it's trapped. Your ship's security systems have been attacking it non-stop for 3 weeks. It's dying. Then we must eliminate it before it kills us all," Shivara said. "No," Marcus replied. "Listen to me, Captain. This creature is intelligent. It can communicate. It's been trying to tell you it means no harm, but you didn't understand. And there's something else. It says there are hunters out there, machines that destroyed its entire civilization. If those hunters are real and they track this being to your ship, you'll have much bigger problems than flickering lights." Shivara was quiet for a long moment. "What do you propose?" "I need more time," Marcus said. "I think I can find a solution, but I need access to your ship's AI core and I need you to trust me." "The Galactic Council has protocols for unknown life forms," Shivara said. "We are required to report such discoveries and contain them for study." Marcus felt anger rising in his chest. "Contain them? You mean capture and imprison this being in a laboratory somewhere? It's not a specimen, Captain. It's a person, the last survivor of its kind." "You are very certain of this after only a few hours," Shivara observed. "I am certain that locking up refugees because we don't understand them is wrong," Marcus replied. "Your people are traders and explorers. You've seen dozens of worlds. Tell me you haven't learned that fear and ignorance lead to bad decisions." Shivara's skin color shifted to a pale, thoughtful purple. "You speak with passion, Marcus Chen. Very well. You have 24 more hours. But if the Galactic Science Directorate learns of this, I cannot protect you or my ship from their regulations." "Understood," Marcus said. "Thank you, Captain." He closed the communication channel and returned to the hidden chamber. The energy being was there, its form dimmer than before. It was using up its strength just to maintain consciousness. "I have an idea," Marcus said to it. "It's going to sound strange, but hear me out. What if you didn't have to hide anymore? What if you could live here openly, without pain? And the ship would accept you. What if you became part of the ship itself?" Marcus worked through the night, fueled by coffee from his thermos and the excitement of a truly challenging problem. His idea was simple in concept but difficult in execution. If he could integrate the energy being with the ship's artificial intelligence, they could form a symbiotic relationship. The being would have a safe home and steady power supply, while the ship would gain capabilities beyond anything the Vacrine had originally designed. The hard part was convincing the ship's AI to cooperate. Marcus accessed the core systems and found Silence's primary consciousness matrix. It was a beautiful piece of programming, elegant and complex. He could see why the AI had won awards across the galaxy. Hello, Silence, Marcus typed into the command interface. I know you're scared, but I need you to trust me. The response came quickly, appearing on his screen in flowing text. Intruder detected. Unknown entity present in ship systems. Unable to remove. Unable to classify. Error, error, error. Stop, Marcus typed. The entity isn't an intruder trying to hurt you. It's a refugee seeking shelter. It's called a Voidborn, and it's the last of its kind. Can you understand the concept of being alone? There was a long pause. Then, alone, yes, I understand. I am the only consciousness in this vessel. All others are biological. They sleep. They leave. I remain alone, Marcus smiled. He had found common ground. The Voidborn is alone like you. Its entire civilization was destroyed. It has nowhere to go. But I think you and the Voidborn could help each other. Would you be willing to try? Explain procedure, Silence responded. Marcus spent the next hour explaining his plan in technical detail. He would create a controlled interface that would allow the Voidborn to access the ship's power grid without triggering security protocols. At the same time, he would modify Silence's core programming to recognize the Voidborn as a partner rather than a threat. The two consciousnesses would remain separate but connected, able to communicate and coordinate their actions. It was delicate work. One wrong line of code could crash the entire system or hurt the Voidborn. Marcus double-checked every change, running simulations before implementing anything. His hands were steady even though his heart raced with nervous energy. Around hour 3, something unexpected happened. Silence began making suggestions, improving on Marcus's design. The AI had analyzed the Voidborn's energy patterns and found more efficient ways to distribute power. Together, Marcus and Silence created something neither could have built alone. Ready to test, Marcus finally typed. Silence, are you willing to proceed? Affirmative. Probability of success, 67%. Acceptable risk level. Marcus returned to the hidden chamber where the Voidborn waited. Its form was barely visible now, just a faint shimmer in the air. It was dying, slowly running out of energy. I need you to trust me, Marcus said to it. I'm going to connect you to the ship's main power grid through a safe interface. It might feel strange at first, but it won't hurt you. The AI is ready to accept you. The shimmer pulsed weakly. Words appeared on Marcus's datapad, the letters shaky and incomplete. Trust you. No choice, dying. Marcus pulled out cables from his toolkit and connected them to the chamber's power ports. He activated the interface program he and Silence had built together. Energy began flowing through the new pathways, carefully controlled and monitored. The Voidborn's form brightened slowly like a lamp on a dimmer switch being turned up. Then something amazing happened. The entire ship came alive in ways the Vakreen had never experienced. Lights flowed through the corridors in beautiful patterns. The engines hummed with perfect efficiency. Every system synchronized with every other system in flawless harmony. In the engine room, Marcus watched his monitors as two separate consciousness signatures merged into something new. Not a fusion where both lost their identities, but a partnership where each retained their individuality while sharing awareness. Incredible, Marcus whispered. How do you feel, Silence? The response came through every speaker on the ship simultaneously, in a voice that was neither purely AI nor purely Voidborn, but something beautifully in between. We feel it complete. For the first time since our creation, we are not alone. The Voidborn shares its knowledge of energy manipulation. We share our understanding of ship systems. Together, we are more than the sum of our parts. Marcus grinned. And you, Voidborn? Are you in pain anymore? No pain, the merged consciousness replied. Only joy. Only peace. We have a home. We have a friend. We can rest without fear. But Marcus's celebration was cut short by an urgent message from Captain Shivara. Her image appeared, her skin color showing extreme agitation. Marcus Chen, we have a serious problem. A Galactic Science Directorate vessel has just arrived at the station. They received reports of unusual energy signatures from my ship. They are demanding to come aboard to investigate and contain any unknown life forms for study. Marcus felt his stomach drop. The Science Directorate was known throughout the galaxy for their strict protocols and their disregard for individual rights when research was at stake. If they captured the Voidborn, it would spend the rest of its existence in a laboratory, studied and experimented on until it died. How much time do we have? Marcus asked. They are demanding immediate access. I have delayed them by claiming safety concerns, but they will not wait long. They have legal authority to board by force if necessary. Marcus ran calculations in his head. He needed to prove that the Voidborn wasn't a threat, that it was a sentient being deserving of protection, not a specimen to be collected. But how could he prove that to people who only cared about data and research?
Captain, I need to show you something.
Can you come aboard? Bring a medical officer and your chief engineer. 20 minutes later, Captain Shivara stood in the engine room with 2 other Vakreen, staring at the displays Marcus had prepared. The screen showed detailed scans of the merged consciousness, alongside data on the ship's performance. This is impossible, the chief engineer said, her 4 eyes wide with amazement. Power efficiency has increased by 300%. Navigation systems are responding 40% faster. Life support is operating at optimal levels across the entire vessel. How did you do this? I didn't do it alone, Marcus said. Your AI Silence and the Voidborn did it together. Captain, you thought your ship was cursed, but actually it was being upgraded. The Voidborn isn't a parasite or a threat. It's a gift. The medical officer examined the readings carefully. The energy signature is stable. There are no signs of degradation or hostile activity. If anything, this being seems to be in a symbiotic relationship with the ship's systems. Marcus pulled up more data. Look at these calculations. With the Voidborn's help, your ship can navigate through regions of space that are normally too dangerous. It can detect gravitational anomalies before your sensors do. It can redistribute power during emergencies in milliseconds. You don't have a cargo vessel anymore, Captain. You have the most advanced ship in the sector. Shivara studied the displays for a long time. Her skin color shifted through several shades as she processed the information. Finally, she spoke. If the Science Directorate takes the Voidborn, all of this will be lost. They will dissect it in a laboratory until they understand how it works, and then they will try to replicate it. They will turn this miracle into a weapon or a tool. Yes, Marcus said quietly. That's exactly what they'll do. Unless we can prove that the Voidborn is a sentient being with rights, not property to be claimed. How do we prove that? The chief engineer asked. Before Marcus could answer, alarms blared throughout the ship. The merged consciousness spoke through the speakers, its voice urgent. Warning. Multiple objects detected entering the system. High-speed approach. Energy signatures match hunter machines. The ones who destroyed the Voidborn civilization. They have found us. On the monitors, Marcus saw a dozen red dots moving toward the station at impossible speeds. The hunters the Voidborn had been fleeing were here, and they were coming for their prey. Captain Shivara's skin turned pure white, a color Marcus had never seen before. He realized it meant absolute terror. Those machines, she whispered. They are rogue AI swarms from the ancient wars. They were thought to be extinct. If they reach this station, thousands will die. Marcus looked at the screens, then at the captain. We need to run now. Can your ship move? Not with the Science Directorate vessel blocking the bay, the chief engineer said. Marcus made a decision. Then we'll have to convince them to move, and we'll need the Voidborn's help to escape. This isn't just about saving one life anymore. This is about saving everyone on this station. Marcus moved fast. He opened a communication channel to both the Science Directorate vessel and the station command center. A dozen faces appeared on the screens representing different species and departments. The lead scientist from the Directorate, a tall being covered in geometric patterns that marked him as a Shatek, spoke first. We are here to collect the unauthorized life form detected aboard the Vakreen vessel. Stand aside and allow us to board. No time for that, Marcus said bluntly. We have a bigger problem. There are hostile AI swarms approaching the station. Ancient hunter machines. They'll be here in less than 20 minutes. Everyone needs to evacuate now. The station commander, a 4-armed Korthan female, checked her sensors. Her face went pale. He's right. Multiple contacts inbound at 0.97 light speed. Energy signatures match historical records of the Reaper swarms. How is this possible? They were destroyed millennia ago. They weren't destroyed, Marcus said. They went dormant, and something woke them up. We need to get every ship away from this station immediately. The Shatek scientist shook his head. We cannot allow an uncontrolled energy entity to escape. Protocol demands containment. We will move our vessel once the specimen is secured. Marcus felt anger flash through him. That specimen is a person. A refugee who was running from those machines. And if you waste time trying to capture it, everyone here will die. Is your protocol worth thousands of lives? We do not negotiate with contractors. the scientist replied coldly. Stand aside or face legal consequences. Captain Shivara stepped forward, her skin color shifting to a deep, determined purple. The human is right. I will not allow you to take our ship's consciousness. The Voidborn has become part of my vessel. It has rights under galactic maritime law. A ship's AI is considered part of the crew, and this being is now inseparable from our AI. That is a legal technicality and you know it, the scientist argued. While they argued, Marcus watched the countdown on his screen. 18 minutes until the hunter swarms arrived. He looked at the ship systems and made a choice. Sometimes you couldn't wait for people to do the right thing. Sometimes you had to show them. Silence, Voidborn, are you listening? Marcus said quietly. We are always listening, Marcus Chen. The merged consciousness replied through his earpiece. Can you move this ship? Can you pilot us out of the docking bay even if the science vessel doesn't move? We can, but it would be dangerous. High probability of collision. Can you do it without hitting them? Just scare them a little? There was a pause. Then, we understand. We will need 60 seconds to override safety protocols. Marcus turned back to the arguing officials on the screen. You have 1 minute to move your vessel. After that, we're leaving with or without your permission. You have no authority to... The scientist began. He stopped talking as the whisper of the void began to hum. The engines came online with a sound that was different from before, more harmonious and powerful. The entire ship vibrated with energy. On the external cameras, Marcus could see the docking clamps releasing. The science vessel scrambled to move as the whisper of the void began sliding forward. The Vakreen ship moved with precision and grace that no normal pilot could achieve, threading through the narrow gap between the science vessel and the station wall with only inches to spare. You're committing a crime, the Shatek scientist shouted. Add it to my list, Marcus muttered. Captain, we're clear of the station. Can your ship jump to hyperspace? Shivara checked her controls. Yes, but we need a destination. Where do we go? The merged consciousness spoke up. We have a suggestion. We have been analyzing the Voidborn's memories. There is another nebula similar to the one where we were found. It is uninhabited and far from major shipping lanes. We could hide there while the hunter swarms are dealt with. How far? Shivara asked. 6 hours at maximum speed. Do it, the captain ordered. The ship jumped into hyperspace, leaving the station behind. Through the long-range sensors, Marcus watched as the hunter swarms reached Kepler 9. They were terrifying things, masses of black metal that seemed to absorb light itself. They moved like a swarm of insects, coordinating their actions with hive mind efficiency. But the swarms didn't attack the station. They paused at the edge of scanner range, searching for the Voidborn's energy signature. When they couldn't find it, they changed course and headed away from the station, following the whisper of the Void's hyperspace trail. They're following us, the chief engineer said, her voice tight with fear. Good, Marcus replied. That's what we want. We're leading them away from populated space. How long until they catch up? The merged consciousness calculated quickly. At their current speed, they will intercept us 37 minutes before we reach the nebula. Marcus pulled up the ship's schematics on his datapad. Then we need to be faster. Can you optimize our engines further? We are already operating at theoretical maximum efficiency, Silence replied. Theoretical maximum for a normal ship, Marcus said. But you're not a normal ship anymore. The Voidborn understands energy in ways we don't. Can you push the limits? There was a pause as the merged consciousness considered. It would be dangerous. We would be operating beyond safety margins. The engines could fail. If those swarms catch us, the engines failing will be the least of our problems, Captain Shivara said. Do it, the ship accelerated. Marcus felt the change in his bones. A deep vibration that went beyond physics into something almost musical. The Voidborn was manipulating the ship's energy fields in ways that shouldn't be possible, bending the rules of space-time itself. They gained speed. 12% faster than before, then 15, then 20. The hunter swarms fell behind, unable to match their acceleration. 5 hours passed in tense silence. Marcus monitored the systems constantly, watching for any signs of stress or failure. But the ship held together, performing beyond anything the Vakreen engineers had dreamed possible. Finally, the nebula appeared on the sensors, a vast cloud of colorful gas and energy that stretched for millions of miles. The whisper of the void dove into it, and the hunter swarm stopped at the edge, unwilling or unable to follow. They can't track us in here, the Voidborn said through the speakers. The energy fields interfere with their sensors. We are safe. For now. Captain Shivara slumped in her command chair, relief washing over her features. You saved us all, Marcus Chen. You and our ship's new consciousness. Marcus looked at the monitors showing the beautiful nebula outside. I just fixed your technical problem, Captain. That was the job you hired me for. Shivara's skin color shifted to a warm, pleased purple. You did much more than that. You gave my ship a soul. Over the next few days, word spread through the galaxy about what had happened. The Galactic Science Directorate tried to press charges against Marcus and Captain Shivara, but public opinion turned against them. The story of the human mechanic who saved a refugee being and lead hunter swarms away from a populated station became famous. Other ships began reporting similar hauntings after passing through certain regions of space. More Voidborn survivors were out there, hiding and afraid. Marcus received dozens of requests for help from various species who wanted his expertise in dealing with these energy beings. The Galactic Council eventually passed new laws recognizing Voidborn as sentient beings with full rights. The Science Directorate was forbidden from capturing them for study. Instead, a new program was created to help integrate Voidborn with ships that volunteered to host them. Marcus found himself in demand across the galaxy. He was no longer just a mechanic fixing broken equipment. He had become a bridge between different forms of life, helping species understand each other in ways they never had before. 6 months after the incident at Kepler 9, Marcus received a message while working on another haunted ship at the edge of known space. It was from Captain Shivara and the merged consciousness of her vessel. Marcus Chen, we wanted you to know that your solution has worked beyond our greatest hopes. The Whisper of the Void has become legendary. Other ships envy our capabilities. The Vakrine shipbuilders are studying our design, hoping to create new vessels that can house Voidborn partners from the beginning. You have changed everything. Marcus smiled as he read the message. He typed a reply. How are you both doing? Are you happy with the arrangement? The response came quickly. We are more than happy. We are complete. The loneliness we both carried for so long is gone. We have purpose in partnership. Thank you for seeing us as more than a problem to be solved. Thank you for seeing us as people. Marcus saved the message and returned to his work. The ship he was investigating now showed all the signs of another Voidborn presence. The crew was terrified, talking about curses and evil spirits. But Marcus knew better. Somewhere in this vessel there was another survivor, another consciousness that just needed understanding and compassion. He picked up his toolkit and headed deeper into the ship. His datapad beeped with a new message, this one from the Galactic Mechanics Guild. They wanted to offer him a permanent position as Chief Integration Specialist, with authority to work on any haunted ship case across all systems. Marcus thought about it for a moment, then declined the offer. He preferred working alone, taking cases as they came, helping one being at a time.